Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, day 2 gets underway. Fascinating group here. 8 ball already in motion, and we're starting with a golden break just like that. The Aussie Jake McCartney gets us underway, and we are up and running. Dom Cooney, how about that? What a start.
Just like yesterday, a golden break to kick off proceedings. Incredible.
I tell you, if this continues, then winning the lag is going to be huge for the start of the day.
To get a frame on the board with no work will be ideal for him.
A dry break from Lee Anderson. Let me ask you, as a player's kind of perspective on this, because from the commentary box we get excited by the golden breaks. You know, there's always a bit of drama when it happens. But you guys are so used to dealing with your opponent. You know, first frame of match, if Jake breaks and break clears there, Lee doesn't think twice about it. But does it affect you more when it is a golden break like that?
I think it depends on the individual, how they sort of deal with things. I'd be saying to myself, in my head, I'd be telling myself it was a break dish, even though it wasn't. But
do you feel a little bit like it's unjust rather than the break dish, that it feels more earned because you have to, you know, put in a solid frame rather than that one magic moment?
And kind of, I think what makes it worse is the fact that it's one thing he's got the golden break, but then Lee's come up and broke, not made a ball. It's very easy, even this early on, to start to think, is it one of them days? Like, is it not meant to be already? Which, obviously, you've got to try and block out them negative thoughts and stay positive and wait for your chances.
I guess it's amazing what goes through players' minds. Even 1 minute 20 seconds into the match, there could be some negativity there from Lee, and he's only played one shot.
Yeah, and that's what he'd have to be telling himself. He has only broke off. He hasn't made any mistakes. He's not done anything wrong. So he's got to try and stay positive and focus on that. But it can vary as well from each match. Sometimes you're feeling great and nothing really phases you, and other times you might not be feeling as comfortable, and things like that can sort of get at you quicker than it maybe normally would.
It's up to Jake McCartney now, though, to... Oh, I thought that was going to stay on the table. Excellent cannon. I was going to say it's up to Jake now to make it 2-0 with a reverse clearance. That was an excellent cannon. Thought he'd missed the pot, though. It dropped in. And now he's in prime position to make the clearance. I think Jake's one of the players that will be very excited to see this as the start of the 2023 season. Very disappointing 2022 for a variety of reasons. Didn't get to play in as many tournaments as he wanted to. Not easy coming over from Australia.
No, I was just going to say that it's, to be fair to Jake, he's probably got it as difficult as any pro could have, because he has to travel thousands of miles for every event.
And a huge injury in the middle of the year, which sidelined him for a while as well. He'll just be looking for a fresh start. Won a title in the inaugural year. Disappointing second year, but good start here to season 3. 2 straight frames, golden break and the reverse clearance.
Yeah, and I think it is worth mentioning all 4 players here today. They all had, in their own rights, very good wins to get here. As you said, Jake beat Stevie Dempsey. Cameron beat Cy Fitzsimmons pretty comfortable with a scoreline, 10-4 I think it was. Lee beat Josh Kane, I think a similar scoreline, and then
very comfortable, yeah.
And Chris beat Neil Raybone. So all 4 players have obviously been playing well, and I think Gaz mentioned it in the studio there. It was only last week, so they'll all be feeling good and carrying that form into today.
Lee actually had 2 wins to get through. There's a handful of players had to play 2 qualifying matches, and Lee was one of those. Harriet Haynes in the prelim, or the first prelim, before coming through his second one. Was that Josh Kane? Second one. First mistake in the match then from Jake. So first time we're going to get to see Lee Anderson at the table. It's
a very strange mistake from Jake. It's not one you'd expect. It was, for his level, it was reasonably elementary. He would have been as good as telling himself he's all but 3-0 up there.
Yeah, they were laid out really well.
It's a good pot from Lee for your first shot, given how the match has started. He's actually almost hit it too good because he's landed pretty straight on the red here, which doesn't leave him a lot of options. He'd have liked to have been closer towards the bulk line to have a natural angle to come down to the middle of the table. We might have to work the cue ball a bit here off a couple of cushions, or punch off one.
And that's not ideal. The only ball he can see to pot is not a good angle.
Yeah, he was, as I say, he was a little bit unlucky where he landed. I think in hindsight now he would have been better off just playing off the top cushion and just landing on the side cushion where he could see the red down to the bottom right corner as we look. Is he cutting this back in the middle? He is. What a pot that is. And he's got the side rail that I was talking about, has he?
He's not going to get that.
No.
It's a great effort, but he is really chasing now. You can just about see a red in the bottom half of the table. Can't do anything with it.
He'll play the white off the cushion just below the centre pocket, and he'll have a chance of making the red. And the cue will, if he doesn't make the red, will run towards the other two reds.
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant from Lee Anderson. Pinpoint the pot and the control of the cue ball.
Well, how about this if he gets out here for your first visit?
It's a statement, isn't it?
Considering how the match started.
Still just has to be careful onto this 8-ball, but considering where he's been in this visit, he'll be very happy.
Yeah, I don't know if he can drop it in and hold on the black. I think he's probably better off getting the cue ball somewhere towards the middle pocket where his bridge hand is now. He's looked to try and find a gap.
Oh, Lee, all that hard work. You've dug yourself out of 2 big holes in this visit. You're in an even bigger one now.
So he will go off the bottom cushion, try and snick it in the middle. He'll go close because the yellow behind the 8-ball is a bit of a guide. If he plays it at pace, the cue ball could go top left. The cue ball could go top left.
Very well called, and a very big disappointment for Lee Anderson. Unbelievable visit to the table, really. So many moments. In the end, it's a disaster for him. Cue ball in hand for Jake McCartney. Wide open table to make it 3-0. And in so many ways, that will hurt so much more than if Jake McCartney had just made the break clearance.
Yeah, now this is where it'll be a real, for Lee, it'll be a real test of his mental strength and how he can cope with this. Sometimes you can't help but think you're going 3-0 down here, and is it Lee's break next?
Lee's break next, yeah. Be a hugely important break. What you have to tell yourself, I guess, is that you need to win these matches. You need 7 opportunities, or you need to take 7 opportunities. Obviously, the match clock can come into play, but if we keep it in simple terms, and he's had 1, he didn't take it, so he still needs 7. Fortunately, Jake has got 3 of his first 4 opportunities he's taken, if you look at it that way.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Jake has had the easier opportunities. Obviously, he's had a golden break and Lee's gone in off on the 8 balls. And I think it's worth, alongside that, mentioning when he's in Australia playing, the tables are so different to what we play over here in England. So he has to adapt to the tables as well.
You actually go about, he's talked about this plenty of times, you go about finishes in completely different ways because the tables play differently.
Yeah.
You would play, the way he puts it, he'll play for a lot more doubles or to move balls off cushions rather than playing for balls down the cushions, because the pockets play tighter down the cushions. And that's a period of adjustment he has to make every time he travels back and forth. Following a big break from Lee Anderson, a disappointing miss. Can't help but feel he's still thinking about that positional error in the previous frame.
Obviously, he's probably thinking he perhaps deserved a bit better off his break. So these yellows look quite presentable. They've all got a pocket, but there's a little bit of work. That's not the best start.
Can still get to and over the bottom left. It's not what he wanted.
Yeah, he's a big guy, Jake. He won't be struggling to reach this. I'd be in all kinds of trouble myself. But it'll be no problem for Jake. He can actually play the one he's closest to as well if he wanted.
Extension code.
It's a gap he probably didn't think he was going to hit.
No, I think he wanted to brush either the red or the yellow.
It's one of those layouts you can look at this and think, okay, yeah, every yellow's got a pocket and this is workable, but connections, certainly to the 2 at the bottom, is going to be very difficult.
It does look from the overhead as if the 2 in the breaking area do plant underneath the red ball to this bottom right corner.
Okay, it looks like he's thinking about taking the first one of it now, and then that opens up the other one.
Yeah, he just came a bit too far across to the right hand side of the table.
Not the cannon he wanted. Cue ball stays on the table, but not on anything nice from here.
I think he's in trouble here. Maybe a double or a treble. But he's landed as nasty as you can, playing out them corner pockets. You've got the rubber of the pockets in your way and the jaws and all sorts. Looks like the double.
Double's not going to land for Jake McCartney, so another chance coming up for Lee Anderson. It's not a particularly good one. It doesn't have an inviting opening shot. Also the red he's next to doesn't have a open pocket, and obviously has short pocket, a short position into the top right if you can get there. So there's some work here. Not what you want when you haven't got a frame on the board.
It looks like he's playing the plant down the line.
Gets the plant, not the position.
So I wonder if he is opting to chase a finish here. To me, I think he's just going to push the red up towards the pocket. He doesn't want that to drop. Obviously with Lee being quite new to the pro setup. I'm not sure how much he has played the rules, because had that red have set up there, it didn't really do him a lot of favours, because he left the cue ball in a place where Jake could play the lost turn. It's a nice part.
The only other problem is the one he's taken to the top left, he wanted to be a lot straighter on so that he could deal with the one at the top. Now he's got a real problem with the one at the top of the table. That was an excellent pot back down the table to open up the bottom end of the table, but he still has a major problem.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where he's going to go from here. I think there's value in the red to the bottom left, just bumping it into play and running the cube off the bottom cushion back in behind that red. Because you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to get out here, and from there...
The line he needs to play short position isn't available.
I think his best bet now is to land on the bulk cushion and play a double. If you're Jake, you're sitting here thinking, carry on.
He could get into the red and yellow from 2 cushions.
Yeah.
Knock it down the table and maybe have a shot. But yeah, I think Jake will be sat in his chair quite happy and say, go for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's the only shot. He either plays the double or he plays 2 cushions to bump it out, but then you're relying on luck and all sorts. Then he's played to be fair to him, he's played a delicate shot here. What a shot that is.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Absolutely world class there from Lee Anderson.
Maybe I'm doing him a disservice there.
That was absolutely phenomenal. That was first class. It really was. He's played 2 or 3 unbelievable shots so far in this match. Amazing that he hasn't won a frame yet. He'll be devastated if he doesn't put one on the board now following that shot.
I've not seen much of Lee, but what we have seen, very encouraging signs for the season coming and for the rest of this match. Brilliant, well played.
Jake McCartney is a great character off the table, and he tells us he is the best player in the world at going in off his own break, and he shows us why there, straight into the top right corner. And on the back of the previous frame is the momentum swinging here. Lee Anderson with a great opportunity here to make it back-to-back frames, get back within 1.
It's quite a big moment already. As you mentioned, with the momentum swinging a little bit.
Only tricky ball on the table for Reds is the 8 ball, but if you get the red out the way, then it becomes depends on the order here. That 8 ball right centre then doesn't become much of a problem.
I think it's this red now. The red to the bottom right, screw back, get straight on the plant if you can, drop the plant dead weight, play the red you plant onto it into the same middle, screw back, red for the top right, and then drop the black in the middle.
Really tried to get there. Had to try and come through the yellow to get there. And
do you know, he's okay here, I think. Just be careful he doesn't creep behind the 8 ball here, but he can just...
do you play it firmer and say, okay, rather than creeping behind it, I'll play into it on purpose and just kick the 8 ball into the middle of the table?
Yeah, you could do, yeah. That's a good shout. He could even come around the back of the 8 ball if you wanted, which is what he's... Oh.
Halfway between, and that's nowhere. Might just be able to see enough to the bottom left. It's tight. From the overhead, it didn't look like he could see enough of it, but he's eyeing it up. He's a bit fortunate if he is on this ball, to be honest. He thought he was going to be avoiding the 8 ball altogether.
That's a great shot.
Another great recovery from Lee Anderson.
Takes his extension, he knows how big a shot this is. Shouldn't be a problem.
Reverse clearance for Lee Anderson. He gets back within 1. I tell you what. Oh, it got moving. Thought that was some shout for a second there. It wouldn't have been the golden break, it would have been the golden duck, because the cue ball flew in. And it's very unfortunate, you have to say. Look at that break. It's as good as you can hit the cue ball up the middle of the table. And to be kicked into the corner like that, very, very unfortunate. He did make other balls. All eyes were on the 8 ball after your call, but that was very, very tough one for Lee to take. And now an opportunity for Jake to put what's happened in the previous 2 frames out of his mind and get back to work here.
So both colours are there, but Jake's going to opt for reds. It's just got to be neat and tidy with his cue ball here.
Sort of a couple of positional shots to play, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the key is almost this shot really. If you get straight on the red down the line to run through, he's a bit short there. So now he's...
So you were thinking get straighter on it, clear the 2 at the bottom, and then leave the 1 over the left centre last ball.
He wanted to get straight down the line and straight to the bottom left, just to leave an angle to come back up to the blue spot. But now he's got to screw back out to get the right side of the red to the left centre. And he's gone a shade too far, but he's okay. He's perfect, really. But all from not getting straight the shot before. He's had to play a shot there. Now he's got to play a shot here. And now he's perfect. He'll just stun it in and leave a bit of an angle. And he'll play the same shot he'd have had to play for the red anyway.
Purposes, you left plenty of angle just to let this one float up the middle of the table.
I'd probably say you went a roll too far, but it was fine.
And a reverse clearance, not a surprise.
Yeah, and it just, particularly under pressure, if you're getting your patterns right, it sort of, it makes the game a lot easier. Like where Jake had to play a shot, if he's under pressure at 5 or 6 or in a race to 7, that's where it can go wrong.
Yeah, I've always think a good example when I'm trying to explain it to people, and that's an excellent break by Jake McCartney. He's going to get another opportunity. We saw Mick Hill, one of the greatest of all time, earlier on this year in the Players' Championship. He got through his group, beating Mark Allen in the group final. In 29 frames of Paul, he missed 1 pot. But by my calculations, there's only probably 1 pot in the whole 29 frames that he could have missed, as in that he actually had to play with any sort of, difficulty. Such was the quality of his control and patterns. It was a phenomenal exhibition of Paul. Yeah,
and that's the kind of almost a sad thing with this game, is that to the casual viewers watching at home who don't like play as much or play to a level or perhaps understand the game as well as like the pros do, they'll be sitting at home and they'll watch someone who's perhaps their cue ball isn't as good, and like, not to, I'll use Lee as an example, not to any way trying to criticise him, but his first couple of visits at the table, he's not used to the conditions, so he lost the white a couple of times. He's having to make shots to keep his chances going. Whereas, like you say with Mick, he's not doing any of that, and it's easy for someone to watch him. Or like Phil Harrison's a good example. He's neat and tidy with the cue ball. It's easy to watch them and think they don't look as good.
But what they're doing is incredible.
But they don't look as good because they're so much better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a completely different level altogether. Excellent from Jake McCartney. Having lost 2 straight frames, he wins 2 straight frames. Well, Lee Anderson now back against the wall, 5-2. Race to 7 here, 16 minutes left on the clock, so there is time for Lee to turn it round.
It's a great break. Absolutely flush there, and he deserves a little bit better.
He's got a little bit of work here. Red and yellow come together on the left-hand side, but the quality of the break once again from Lee is excellent, and this time the cue ball does not get kicked in off.
I think it's going to be yellows. He's trying to work out how he'll develop the yellow to the yellow that's stuck beside the red. He's been quite unfortunate because not only has the yellow been tied up, the red ball directly above the 8 ball is also blocking the double. So he's going to have to play a shot to break it out.
Oh, we tried to hit the smallest of gaps there. Didn't quite get the gap. He's been a little bit fortunate that the 2 yellows have come together as a plant to the top left. So he can continue with it. If that had gone, that could have gone a lot worse for him.
Yeah, he's actually had a bit of a result in that the 2 yellows are a plant, and he's got the right angle here to go somewhere towards where the red ball is to the top right, to leave the angle now where he's gonna, well, he's got 2 choices. He's landed good on the other yellow. As I say, he could either play the plant and just bump the red and yellow and always be on the yellow that he planted, but he's actually got the yellow to the top right if he wanted to play the same sort of cannon. But I think he feels this one's more guaranteed.
It's a bigger target this way for me.
You don't need to play this that pacey. Ooh.
Got that one all wrong. Any contact on the red and he's good there.
He sort of like stunned it a bit more than a soft screw. If he'd played it a bit softer and got the bite into the cue ball. But we have seen so far he's a good shot maker, is Lee, so he might opt just to play a safety, but which he's trying to hide the cue ball there, I think.
A disappointing visit to table for Lee Anderson. 2 attempts to get that bad ball out. Couldn't manage either. Jake McCartney now with his chance. It's not an easy opening shot if he wants to be aggressive here, and he has the same problem area of the table, but he has the numbers advantage and could potentially control a safety battle. But he doesn't want to play safe.
He didn't on that shot, but he might choose to here. He could play a shot where he snookers Lee on his 2 open yellows and forces him to play the bad one, but Jake being Jake, he's going to run up the table here and try and leave an angle. And he's just a bit short. I think he has to really force it now. If he was sort of in between the cue ball and the yellow ball as we look to the right hand side, he would have been perfect just to pop the red and bump the red and yellow, and he was always on the red to the right centre. So he's going to play the same shot, but he has to just force it a little bit more now.
Well, that'll do. He's got it out. Now needs to play on it, or could play it as a double in a couple of shots' time. But you would have preferred it to come out a bit better than it has, but I guess it's out. That's all you're kind of hoping for.
Yeah, I think we'll see him. He's going to play the red. He's going to try and land on the rail now, on the left-hand cushion, to try and get straight enough on it. And that's pretty perfect.
That was a really nice shot.
So in his head now, he'll be seeing this red as the black ball, really. He knows if he makes this, he gets himself on the hill for a 6-2 lead.
Just awkward cueing. The yellow on the cushion is just kind of where he wants to put his hand. So he may have a slightly longer bridge than normal, and he sort of had to tilt his hand. So just all adds to the tariff. Oh, and that used every single millimetre of the pocket.
Yeah, I think you could sort of tell the way Jake's hit that, and he took his extension. He knew the importance of that shot, and his body language sort of told us that he knows. Well, he'll be telling himself he's missed it, but got away with one.
Oh, he has got there. 6-2 in front now.
Oh, he's flirting with that cue ball again.
Well, he will get to the table. That cue ball was close, as you say, Tom, but stayed on, but so did everything else. Look at the left centre pocket here. It's amazing that nothing drops in.
Wow. So Lee needs to really have a go here because the clock's not on his side and he does need to win at least 4 frames to get it to a shootout minimum.
Of course, the 15 seconds a shot comes in 30 seconds time as well. Final 10 minutes played at 15 seconds a shot. Things can get a little bit hectic out there then.
He's played a good shot there, Lee, because he can develop the black ball here. Push it to the bottom rail, which he has done. He's actually, if he wanted, he's got a nice angle to play a little cannon. But I personally don't think he should here, because you're pushing the other red. He chose to, could stick. It's not the end of the world because it is actually a fairly big pocket to go 1 cushion across the table and pot the red.
Problem is he needs to pot the red off the red, otherwise that other red becomes a problem ball.
Yeah, so that's where he needs to, obviously he'll have to adjust. And the fact it's a big pocket helps this shot. Played it a bit soft for me. I thought he needed to play a bit.
Yeah, makes it clean. Last thing he wanted there. You're going to see the beeps and the clock ticking down a lot more as we're at 15 seconds a shot.
I'm not sure he can. He might have a bit of a shot. If he stuns this red in, he could almost double kiss the red off the cue ball, on like off the draw off the cue ball next shot. But he didn't. Some effort, to be fair to him.
It really was.
And it was some effort because he knew as well he couldn't just hit the yellow 4 and make the red. He had to just glance it in to get the cue ball towards the 8 ball. So he's forced to have a bit of a whack there. It's not the worst leave.
It's not the worst leave at all, but he's in a world of trouble now, 6-2 down. And in a world of trouble in this frame. Jake can't clear up from here, but one good safety shot takes control of the frame.
Yeah, Jake will just be glancing off the yellow and getting the cue ball back towards the 8 ball. It's got such a big wall there to defend. He's got the added bonus of leaving him awkward over the 8 ball. So this shot will not be played softly, I can guarantee that.
Softer than I think we both thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's one of those you're in trouble. Give it every chance, but because even if he makes it on that angle, he's probably not on the 8 ball. Anyway, now that he's fouled, Jake McCartney's got to run to the line.
It's a good shot from Jake.
Sort of highlighting one of the, we talked about this earlier about the different styles. Coming over from Australia, a lot of, that's the shot that you play all the time. You wouldn't think about anything other than that sort of shot in Australian pool, but a lot of players in that situation may not have thought about moving that ball.
Yeah, I think it obviously helped being 6-2 up. He can sort of, I think it just he took what the table gave him. It left him that perfect shot to play it, and he chose to. And it's been a fairly good performance from Jake. 1 or 2 silly errors, but he'll be happy enough.
Yeah, a little wobble after going 3-0 up, but impressive from 3-2. He responded with back-to-back finishes from the break to stretch ahead and really put Lee Anderson under pressure. And from there, Lee Anderson was always chasing the match. So the big Aussie, Jake McCartney, gets the win in our first match of the day. A fascinating start to day 2 here at the Ultimate Pool Pro Cup.